Is the euro doomed? We put that question to Terry Miller. He says the euro might not be doomed, but the credit ratings of some of the eurozone countries may be. And he joins us now. Terry is a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State. He is now at the Heritage Foundation, and he's in our Washington bureau. Thanks for joining us, Terry. You think the euro survives, the European Monetary Union survives intact with all the countries in it?
No, I think that's actually unlikely. We've got a problem at the base of all this problem in Europe is this sovereign debt that's out of control in some of the countries, Greece being the most prominent. It's very hard to imagine the Eurozone continuing in the current configuration with all the same countries in it. The tension, the economic tension between Greece on the one hand and a country like Germany is just too strong.
Terry, if you had to rank the problems that are there in the region, what would be top on your list? I mean, we heard from the IMF chief, Christine Lagarde, this weekend, breaking ranks in a way with some of her colleagues and saying the banks need to be recapitalized. I mean, from where you sit, where do you see the biggest weakness?
Well, I think the biggest weakness is in the economic growth in the region. We need policies that will continue to promote economic growth. That doesn't mean more government spending or more borrowing. It means getting the regulatory environment right. It means continuing to back governments out of the marketplace. It's the same things we know work in getting free markets to grow more quickly than they're growing right now. Same problems we're having here in the United States.
What do you think could be done to solve those problems? I mean, they're looking at austerity, right? So growth is going to be an issue for them going forward, not to mention the entire global economic outlook is kind of getting weaker.
Well, the reason austerity is a problem is because the governments are too involved in their economies and have been for many, many years. If you had the private sector driving most of the economic activity in Europe, and that frankly is the direction that they are trying to head, then these government debts wouldn't matter so much, and the government transfer payments inside the economies wouldn't matter so much. So I think you're going to continue to need austerity, but then that raises the whole problem of political instability.
Terry,
because
let me just ask you, because I get what you're saying, too much government intervention, even though they are looking at austerity programs there. We need to see more of a free market solution to these problems. Why does that seem to be such an incredibly minority opinion? I mean, the Keynesian solutions run rampant.
Well, I think government officials, there's a long history of government intervention, and there are a lot of special interest groups that depend on handouts from the government in order to continue their current financial standing. So unwinding that, it can either happen very quickly and somewhat chaotically, or it can happen over the long run. And I think most of what government officials are trying to do right now is to drag out this adjustment process so that it takes place over a long time and takes place in a more orderly fashion than it would if you just let the market determine the value of all the assets in the economy.
Terry, just 10 seconds left. You head up the Index of Economic Freedom at the Heritage Foundation. Where do the Euro countries rank as far as continents around the world?
Well, most of the European countries do quite well in terms of economic freedom, but the older Western European countries tend to have too much government spending and very high tax rates. The Eastern European countries are the biggest offenders of economic freedom these days. They're doing quite well indeed.
All right. Hey, Terry, thanks for joining us. Terry Miller there from the Heritage Foundation.